Welcome back to episode 164 of the ATD Baseball Podcast. It is Monday. We have a Super Bowl matchup, but this is not a football show. So, um, all it means is that, hey, there's one more football game left, and then baseball takes center stage again. So, we're almost there. Spring training starts in a little less than a month, but we're getting there. But we have some news that we want to discuss today. A lot of signings as teams are starting to find their new homes. A lot of Mets talk today, so if you're a Mets fan, listen up. But before we get into everything, Kyle, how are you doing today? Hopefully you're staying warm, my friend, because I know a lot. Like three-fourths of the country is like covered in snow right now, and it's like hard to get around and do things. So hopefully you guys are staying warm out there.
Trying, man. De- Definitely trying. We got hit a lot. I would say at least a foot. There's some places in our town, in our neighborhoods and things that have gotten more. It sucks, you know. I hate this weather. I can't stand it. It's no secret. I'd like to be somewhere warm and sunny, very shortly, but but yeah, as of right now, I'm just kind of bunkered down. That's really all we can do. But overall, we're doing pretty good. Can't really complain. I had off today from work, so hey, and I get paid for it, so I absolutely no complaints. But other than that, man, I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
As Dean Martin once said, "Let it snow, let it snow." I guess that's all I hear from Kyle. So, uh,
Pretty much.
I'm doing well. Before we get into everything that we want to discuss, I just want to mention this real quick. No, it's not where Kyle thinks I'm going. Where this is not that type of place. But, of course, you see the jersey behind me. Uh, at the time of this recording, today is Monday, January 26th. I know everybody will hear this tomorrow, January 27th, but I have to address it today. 6 years ago today, Kobe Bryant, 13-year-old daughter Gianna, and seven other people tragically lost their lives in a helicopter crash in Calabasas, which is like 30 miles from where I'm at. I still can't believe he's gone, man. Like it's Kobe was one of those athletes, man, where it's like he walked on water here in L.A. Played for the Lakers for 20 years. He was a legend. Um, Part of the reasons why I wanted to get into sports media and in this business was to hopefully one day meet him, and get him to sign my book that I got from Christmas from my parents a couple years ago. Fortunately, that's never gonna happen. But um, I can't believe he's gone, man. It's 6 years. I still can't believe it. The thing that's so tragic about it is that he died so young at 41 that he was just scratching the surface on things that he wanted to do life after basketball. He had won his Academy Award for Dear Basketball like a couple years prior. Um, he was starting to dabble into books, film, TV, stuff like that. And then he was coaching his daughter's basketball team, So um, I mentioned this to you, Kyle, last year during the fires. You know, Los Angeles, we've been very fortunate to not have that many dark days in this city, but January 26th for me and for a lot of Angelinos, and I know a lot of basketball fans around the world, today's a tough day. But um, rest in peace, Kobe. Miss you, buddy, and just had to get that off my chest. Before we get into everything 6 years ago today, I still can't believe it, man. Can't believe it's been 6 years, man. It's time goes by fast, man. It's crazy, but just wanted
Absolutely.
to get that in there before we start here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just because this is a baseball podcast, it um doesn't mean these players still don't have such a big impact on all sports and all sports fans. I'm obviously mostly baseball. But for me personally, like Kobe was one of those guys he's bigger than the game. He's more than an athlete. That's been a it's been a motto that's come up in the last recent years is more than an athlete, and it's extremely true. It's not just the Aaron Judges or the Shohei Otanis in our baseball world, but it's also the LeBrons, it's the Aaron Rodgers, it's the Kobe Bryants of the world that really do have such an impact on you as a person. Kobe was a guy who I looked up to. I'm not a Lakers fan. I'm not a big basketball fan, but Kobe was one of those guys that you can really resonate with, and he had such an impact on not only basketball but other people's lives in general. So it was beautifully said, and yeah, rest in peace to Kobe, his daughter, and those 7 other people who lost their lives 6 years ago today. Yeah, it sucks, man. It truly does, and it's never something you're gonna get over. It's just basically remembering his life and everybody else's, and trying to just push the motive that he tried pushing, and that's all we really want out of this, out of this game that we call life. So, um, you know, beautifully said, and rest in peace, Kobe.
Thank you, thank you. Very well said yourself. I'm decked in my gear. I got my Kobe hoodie on right here. I got the jersey behind me. I'm all decked out. I One of these days when Kyle comes over here, he's just gonna see the entire collection. But that
Absolutely.
that's for another day. And I'm still trying to add on as some more shoes are dropping this year, so we'll see. But anyways, going on to baseball stuff. Uh, we've got basically this is gonna be Mets talk for the next like I don't know how many 20 minutes here, but the Mets made a lot of moves in the last week since we last uh, talked to you guys. They traded for Luis Robert. They traded, yeah, they traded for Freddy Peralta. They signed Craig Kimbrel. But so the Mets, listen, after all their fans at the beginning of the offseason were ready to hang David Stearns, and get him out of town. Now the Mets have kind of saved their offseason a little bit. After missing out on Kyle Tucker, they thought he was going to be a Met. They signed Bo Bichette and they make a bunch of these moves. And, I want to address this real quick too. I'm getting sick and tired of the people that are commenting on our posts, the 3 losers that we had earlier about a month ago. Yes, I understand. Yes, like people gotta see when the date was posted. I
Yeah.
think some people actually think we posted that like recently. So it's
Oh
like
yeah.
why
Yep.
are the Mets on here? What are you smoking? What's wrong with you? And like dude, like a lot has happened since. Ironically, the minute we post that, the Mets got their shit together and started making some changes. But um, I think the Mets are. I think they're right there as one of the winners of this offseason. And it only took like 2 weeks to get all that settled. But the new look Mets going into 2026. I think the thing that I like the most about it, yes, they got Bichette. Yes, they traded for Luis Robert. But they have a clear number one in their rotation now in Freddy Peralta. And you saw last year that they really did not have a number one. Sean Manaea could not return to form how he was in 2024. And they had just brought up a bunch of kids, Nolan McLean. And there's only so much pressure you can put on guys like that just because they were making, I think, Nolan McLean had made like 5 starts before. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
you got to go out there. We need this game to get in the postseason. Good luck, But the Mets clearly addressed their need for another bat. They got that in Bo Bichette. And they have a clear number one in their rotation, Freddy Peralta. And, led the league in wins last year. Um, he's a rental, or he could be a rental. And if we have learned anything from this regime with David Stearns, it's probably going to be a rental. He doesn't want to give out big contracts to starting pitchers like that. But hey, you have him for a year, make him fall in love with the place, and maybe at the end of this season, you re-sign him. But the thing I love the most about this Mets offseason is that they address their need for a clear number one starter. And they have that now in Freddy Peralta.
Yeah, absolutely. As soon as the Freddie Peralta news dropped, I was, he was a guy who was on my radar as a Yankee fan. I was really hoping, and that with all the injuries that the Yankees have, that he would be our guy. But
So was I.
yeah,
You greedy
listen,
son of a bitch.
listen. But so Freddie Peralta goes to the Mets, and just looking at the like surface level about this trade, they didn't give up a ton, not as much as I would have expected, but what you get in return is so much more than what you gave up, right? Because in my opinion, you kind of hit the nail on the head with having a clear number one now. This is something that the Mets have been missing for a couple of years now. Um, it showed in the postseason, it showed in the regular season, and that's what couldn't get him over the hump. I'm still not totally in love with this pitching rotation. I'm not gonna lie, but Freddie Peralta turns it upside down, in my opinion. It puts them on the right track. Um, there are some question marks in this rotation, but there's a lot of depth, right? And you might not have guys who are a clear number two or a clear number three, but you have guys who are willing to pitch and go out there, and you never know what you're going to get out of them. You have Clay Holmes coming back as another year of a starter. You have Sean Manaea. You have Kodai Senga. You have Jonah Tong, who's a young guy who showed some promise. You have there's like two or three other guys in there, but David Peterson's another one. You have a formidable rotation. You do. It's a matter of the rest of the guys following suit with Freddie Peralta. You know what you're going to get out of him, but now it's just for the rest of these guys to kind of hike it up and go out there and pitch just like Freddie Peralta does. Um, and if the Mets can get a solid rotation out of this, hey, this is going to be a huge win. And Freddie Peralta already said that he's open to a contract extension with the Mets. So hey, if he's open to it, 50% of the job is already done. Now you need to go out there and show him why he should sign here long term. And props to the Mets, man. Getting Freddie Peralta is no joke. This is a top of the line ace. This is a guy who's going to go out there and give you, you know exactly what you're going to get out of Freddie Peralta. 9 times out of 10, you're going to get sub 3 ERA and you're going to get 30 starts. 200 plus innings. This guy he's nails every start. You know exactly what you're going to get out of him. And as we continue with this Mets talk, if he can get the run support that we know that this Mets team can do, hey, sky's the limit for this offseason, man. Props to the Mets. They really turned this they really turned this thing around. And yeah, just to touch on that post, it's funny because two out of those three teams that I put on there are now off of that list. If I'm being honest, because later in this episode, we're going to touch on what the Giants just did literally like 10, 15 minutes ago. So, in my opinion, two of my three offseason losers are off of that list right now. So, please check the dates of when this is posted because, yeah, we look like idiots right now. But back then, when we posted it, it was 100% true. And that was our true feelings. So, overall, yeah, no, great move for the Mets and Freddie Peralta, man. I Mets fans are going to be excited to watch him. I'm telling you because you finally have a top of the line ace, and that's what they needed.
They also traded for Luis Robert Jr. and finally he got traded. He was always in the rumor mill. It seemed like for the last 2 or 3 seasons. I know the Dodgers were kicking the can on him a couple years ago. I actually wanted the Dodgers to trade for Luis Robert Jr. at the beginning of the 2025 season when Andy Pajes was having his struggles in center field, and it didn't look like he was going to be able to make that transition. But finally gets moved. Um, Played 110 games last year. That's the most he had played since. Well, he played 100 in 2024, but he played 145 in 2023. That was his best year of his career. Um, Almost 40 home runs, 80 RBIs. It's a risk, but I get it. And if you can get just half of what Luis Robert did in 2023, that's just a bigger boost, man. It extends this lineup even more, but I'm anxious to see how this goes because again, I can see it both ways. I can see him kind of reviving his career a little bit, change the scenery, get in a clubhouse with guys like Lindor and Soto who know how to hit the ball very well, and just can he stay healthy? I can also see the flip where he continues to decline, and he's a one and done kind of thing here with the Mets. But I really like the aggressiveness with this Mets team. If it hits, it could be arguably the best trade of the offseason. Seriously, if Luis Robert can return to form this coming season. But that was a big move. Like I said, we had heard Luis Robert Jr. in the rumor trade talks for the last couple years, and it was getting to a point where it's like, all right, are they gonna move on from him or not? Because it's clear that they want to move on from him, but they can't find a suitor or how much they're looking for. But sneaky move for the Mets this offseason. And again, if you can get just half of what he did in 2023, look out because this Mets team, this Mets lineup just got extended another in that lineup. You know he plays good defense. You're going to get that. It's just, can he hit? That's the one thing that I have questioned going into 2026.
Yeah, I have a few thoughts about this move. I think I'm more negative towards this move than I am positive, and it's strictly because of the timing of the trade, okay? So you have a guy on the free agent market who showed all five tools last year. He costed the Yankees 100 and some million, high 100 for 5 years. The Mets and Cody Bellinger was a perfect fit. And the fact that you, instead of paying Cody Bellinger 180, 200 million across 5 years, you're now giving up a top prospect in Acuna to go get Luis Robert, who has not performed in 2 years and he can't stay on the field. It was right there for you. And not to mention, I understand maybe Steve Cohen and the rest of that front office wants to watch how much they're spending. David Stearns really isn't handing out these big time contracts. I understand that. But my opinion, this team does not have that much money on the books. It is almost a guarantee that Bo Bichette is not going to be a Met next year. I'm sorry. But the writing's on the wall. John Heyman's question, his response, this looks exactly like a Scott Boras deal where it's an opt out, he opts out, and he goes elsewhere. That's what it looks like. Freddy Peralta, he's a rental. If you want your chance at winning this year and trying to take down the Dodgers, Cody Bellinger would have been a much better fit than Luis Robert. That's my negative side. Cody Bellinger was there on a plate for you to take. He was basically saying, give me like 20 extra million and I'm yours and I can be here for long term. Instead, you go out and you trade for Luis Robert Jr. Now, I like the aggressiveness, like you said, but to me, there's too much risk here. Okay. So you're getting an outfielder who's 2 years removed from his best season. He finished 12th in MVP voting, which actually looking at his numbers, I'm kind of thinking to myself, damn, he should have been higher. He was an all-star, silver slugger. He had a 5.3 WAR season. Listen, that's beautiful. That's what you want. But to me, I don't know if the Mets get there. I don't know if Luis Robert gets back there. Um, Last season, for example, he played 110 games, and injury's been an issue. We touched on that. Everybody knows that injury is an issue for Luis Robert. He batted 223, 297, 364, and he had an OPS of 661. He had 14 homers, 53 ribbies. Yeah, not a great season, um, but he's probably the fourth biggest bat on this team. Now, Cody Bellinger being the fourth biggest bat, that's what I keep going back to, right? Is the fact that Cody Bellinger was right there for you. And you could have taken him. He was right there. And to me, I would have liked this Mets team a whole lot more if it was Cody Bellinger in the outfield than Luis Robert. However, that's not what happened, and I'm going to look at the trade as it is. Yeah, if Luis Robert can kind of turn this around, he's not that far removed. Now, also too, I think scenery plays a big role in this. He was on a Chicago team that was ass, dude, complete ass. He has been the one mainstay there, and for some reason they never traded him. I feel like they could have gotten a whole lot more in a trade package, like you said, when the Dodgers were interested in him, when these other teams were interested in him. You could have got some better prospects other than just Acuna. I'm not taking anything away from him. I think they got a phenomenal return for him, but you could have gotten more a few years back. Um, Overall, I think it's really, really high risk with a low to mid reward. That's what's catching up here for me. But we'll see. I like the aggressiveness. Luis Robert, if he can stay on the field, it's a good deal. It is. But I don't have enough faith in him staying on the field. That's where I'm getting caught up. Um, and listen, if you want to beat the Dodgers, you got to spend the money. And I feel like that's what is getting in the Mets' way right now. The Mets are a phenomenal team. They are. I think they're better now than what they were last year with Alonso and the rest of that core. I truly do believe that. But I don't know if it's enough to compete for the NL against the Dodgers. But if you would have told me they got Cody Bellinger, I would have felt a whole lot more prone to say that the Mets are the biggest threat. But I can't say that right now with Luis Robert roaming the outfield. So it's a matter of him just staying on the field. It's basically what you said, and I'm going to double down on it. He needs to stay on the field. He needs to stay healthy, and he needs to just lock in. Right? He's competing for a championship now, going from Chicago to New York. He is, and he has a really good supporting cast around him. The pitching side we already talked about. They added Craig Kimbrel in the bullpen. We'll see where that goes. I'm not saying that's a beautiful signing, but they're addressing needs, right? And the rest of that lineup, you have Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, Bo Bichette. You have a good supporting cast of guys, and then you have a good mix of those youngings too in there, and we'll see where it goes, man. We will. I'm very interested to see how Robert fits in this clubhouse. I think again, if he can stay on the field, that's the biggest thing.
Absolutely, and you just touched on it a second ago. Craig Kimbrel, minor league deal with the Mets. This will be his fifth team in the last 7 years. He is way past his prime, but hey, Mets, maybe they can find something with him, but it's just a minor league contract. I wouldn't look too much into it, but he's going to be one of those kind of MLB grid legends. You're just
Yeah.
going to be able to use him with like seven, eight different teams, and I will see where it goes, man. I mean, listen, I wouldn't be surprised, especially how the bullpen is with the Mets. Wouldn't be, and they did address their bullpen this offseason too. So yeah, it wouldn't shock me if I saw him in there eventually during the season.
Yeah,
You probably are going to see him
absolutely.
saving games. So there's your Mets. They made a lot of moves. Now let's get to the other team that shares the city of New York. Let's go to the Bronx. Let's go to the Yankees. Cody Bellinger re-signs with the New York Yankees. It felt like that all along, especially in the last couple of weeks. It felt like, hey, you know what? The Yankees are staying with their number. They're not going to move past it. And good on Cashman, good on Steinbrenner for staying their ground, sticking up to Boris. He is now coming back with the Yankees. Kyle was not thrilled about it at all, as you saw in his video last week. But now we get his full reaction a week later. Cody Bellinger back to the Bronx.
Yeah, so I mean, I've had a lot of time to stew on it, and kind of think about it, and there's not too much to think about for me. My only question is what's next? It's the same thing I said in the video. It's what's next. And listen, I already know how this is going to go. There's going to be the returning press conference. There's going to be the reporters in spring training saying, "Oh, Bellinger, you're back." Everything else, and then when they pan to Cashman, it's going to be the thing where I have a feeling. Okay, so this is the best way I can put it. I have a feeling that the Yankees front office is just like, oh, we're so proud of ourselves. We stood our ground with the price tag, and we got Cody Bellinger back on our number. We didn't get in a bidding war with ourselves. And listen, props to you. I get that. It makes sense. He could have very easily signed with another team, and that's what I said about the Mets just a little bit ago. But I don't care about that. I don't give a shit that Cody Bellinger's back. Listen, like, yeah, he's a phenomenal player, and I'm glad that he's back because it's the same thing as last year. If Cody Bellinger wasn't in that lineup, this Yankees team would have missed the playoffs. I already know that. Aaron Judge cannot continue to hold all the weight and push this team to where it can't go. Um, but the way that I view this is like, yeah, cool, he's back, but what's next? That's what I'm saying. It's like Freddy Peralta was right there on the table. These other big free agents, I pushed hard for Bo Bichette. Um, it's just this team it's the same song and dance as last year and the last couple of years. You have Aaron Judge paired with a superstar like player, and yeah, Cody Bellinger is not the Juan Soto that we saw a few years ago, but he's a good supporting cast. But other than Judge and Bellinger in this lineup, there is nobody. I'm sorry. And everybody wants to keep saying, "Oh, well, you have Ben Rice. He's showing promise, and you have Stanton, and you have all these other guys." I don't give a shit about that. This team has been the same fucking team for the last couple of years, and they never do anything about it. And then we have an owner crying that he's poor on a fucking interview. Like, come on, don't give me that. I That's not what I want to hear as a Yankee fan. I'm sorry. And I'm again, maybe I'm being too hard on Cody Bellinger. I do think it's a phenomenal signing. I'm glad that he's back. Don't get me wrong, but we're running it back, dude. That's what we're doing. We're running it back. And if anything, it's in a worse place because Carlos Rodon's on the IL to start the season. This bullpen, we lost Luke Weaver, and he's the big one because I'm not even going to talk about Devin Williams. Um, but we lost Luke Weaver, who was a big part of our bullpen. Um, and if you look at that lineup, truly, right? Do you know who is going under the radar right now? And that's Paul Goldschmidt. Okay, Paul Goldschmidt played with the Yankees last year, and he slashed 300 against lefties last year. Where are we going to find that production again? Listen, like that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, Cody Bellinger's back, cool, but what's next? I need to see the next part. And unfortunately, I don't think there is going to be a next part. And that's why I think I'm so negative about this deal because like there's no plan going forward. The only plan this offseason was to run it back. And they got the last piece, which was Cody Bellinger. And now they're confident and they even said last year that they were really happy with where they ended. And I'm thinking to myself, that's a fucking crock of shit. Because if you're a Yankee fan or you're trying to compete for a championship every single year, like the Yankees brand has been made, this can't be the same song and dance all over again. And there were talks that they were trying to trade for a top of the line pitcher. Well, guess what? We already talked about Freddy Peralta, and we're going to talk about Mackenzie Gore, who's now off the market. So where do you go from here? Who are you gonna try to convince me that's gonna put this team over the edge? Because it's sure as hell not Ryan Yarborough who's gonna take a spot in the rotation until Cole and Rodon get back from injury. I'm sorry. That's Nestor Cortez all over again, and we saw where that ended up 2 years ago. So that's my thoughts. I know it's a lot of negative and it's surrounding a player who's like he showed all of his five tools last year. He had a phenomenal year. He did. And I'm glad to have that back. But I'm thinking long term here. I want to compete for a championship. And the American League's wide open again, believe it or not. You know, Toronto lost Bo Bichette and they lost out on Kyle Tucker. The rest of this American League is wide open. You will only meet the Dodgers in the World Series. Why can't you just go over and push yourself over the edge? That's my problem with the Yankees. And I don't, my question is what's next? And unfortunately, this is what's next, is what I see. We're running it back all over again. It's going to be the same song and dance. And that's why I'm so negative about this deal.
And it reflects that in the betting odds as you posted last week as well. The Dodgers are the clear heavy favorites. They're like a plus 200, and we haven't even started the season yet, which is insane. But then after
Yeah.
that, at like 1100 is the Yankees. And, people are saying, well, how can the Yankees be the highest American League team? Okay, where else are you going to go? Like, this American League side is not that good this year. It's wide open. The Blue Jays, we'll see if they can redo what they replicate what they did in 2025. The division, a bunch of teams in this league made their moves and stuff, but it's still wide open, like you just said. And let me give you the Yankees lineup: Grisham, Judge, Bellinger, Rice, Stanton, Chisholm Jr., um, McMahon, Cabanero, and Austin Wells.
That's a first round exit team. That is a first round exit team. I hate to say it, but after Judge and Bellinger, I do not have enough faith in Jazz Chisholm to carry the load. You look at these other teams. You have Shohei, you have Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts is arguably the third best player. He lines up with Jazz Chisholm for the New York Yankees. Okay,
Tommy
that's
Edman might
that's
be
all.
hitting eighth or ninth this season.
Tommy Edman would be our fucking cleanup hitter. But that's what I'm saying, man. This team, it's not built for a deep run in the postseason. It's not. I'm sorry. You cannot convince me otherwise. I think it's a fringe postseason team, if I'm being honest with you. There's way too many question marks in that rotation. The bullpen's not even set. And this lineup has Aaron Judge and Cody Bellinger. After that, there's not many supporting casts that can keep up the firepower that the New York Yankees need to make it to the World Series, let alone win the World Series. So yeah, when I look at those betting odds, I don't even it's a joke, man. It's a joke. That Yankees team should not be there. I'm sorry.
Well, you know what, Cashman? You know what they're gonna tell you at spring training. Well, we have three guys that are gonna be coming off the IL to help us: Garrett Cole, Carlos Rodon, and Clark Schmidt. And yeah, sure, I guess Volpe will be back too at some point. But that's what they're gonna tell you. Like, oh, we got three pieces of the rotation that's coming back before the first half of the season ends.
And and listen, man, Garrett Cole, he's coming back from TJ. You don't know how, dude. He's 35. He's gonna be 36 next year. We have Clark Schmidt, who's been dealing with injuries, and Carlos Rodon's been for the bulk of this contract. It's not worked out in the Yankees' favor. Those three pieces, you can't even say, man. Like truly, because it's the rotation, the only one who I have faith in that can go the full, all the way through October is Max Fried. He is the only one who I have enough faith in to do that. Luis Heel, yeah, he's coming back from, his rookie of the year. But dude, he stunk it up last year. This team is just not good. It's not a good team. And listen, yeah, maybe I'm a little bit more critical than the outsider because I'm a Yankees fan. But when I do look at this team, dude, I'm telling you, it's a fringe postseason team is what we are right now. Truly, that's how I actually feel.
Yep, you heard it here first. And your rotation going into opening day is Fried, Schittler, Warren, Weathers, and Gill. That's your five rotation right there.
Jesus, that's crazy.
And the back end of your bullpen is Bednar, Duvall, Cruz, Tim Hill, Jake Bird, Blackburn, Yarbrough, and Winquist. That's your bullpen right there.
I feel the most confident about the bullpen, man. I truly do.
So we'll see what happens in Yankee land as we get closer to opening day. Moving on to a player that you just mentioned a second ago, Mackenzie Gore is now going to the Texas Rangers in a 5-for-1 player deal. Man, did the Rangers give up a lot to get him, but he is going to the Rangers. He is clearly now moved towards the front end of the rotation. Um, had a good first half of the season in 2025, and then was bad. Had a bad second half. Was an all-star. You know, he's a good pitcher. Don't let the 5-15 record fool you. He made 30 starts last year. Had a bad second half. I think he'll be okay, but I was not expecting the haul for Mackenzie Gore, and it's crazy, but there's a bunch of rumors going on that the Nationals may have wanted to blow this whole thing up again, because there was that report that came out that C.J. Abrams was almost traded to the Giants. It's
Yep.
crazy. I don't know what's going on in Washington D.C. with the baseball team, but um,
You got to clarify
yeah,
that
I
one.
gotta make that very clear with the baseball team, with the baseball team, with the baseball team. Just had to clarify that. Uh, but Mackenzie Gore to the Texas Rangers, and hey, man, the Rangers believe that they compete for a championship. Um, that's what Chris Young, the Rangers president of baseball operations, feels, and you should feel like that. We just mentioned a second ago. This American League side is wide open, and
Yep.
um, it's for anybody's taking. And good for the Rangers for being aggressive. But man, I was not expecting that big of a haul.
No, I wasn't either. It was a 5-for-1 deal, like you mentioned. On the Rangers part, you didn't give up any top prospects, right? You don't necessarily know where these guys are going to pan out. I understand on the surface this looks like a big trade, but if I'm really looking into it, I mean, I think the top prospect that they gave up was their 15th, 16th, 17th, somewhere in there. It was in the late teens of where he was numbered. Um, yeah, listen, it's a good trade for the Rangers, man. I like this move. I think Mackenzie Gore. I think the biggest thing was he was going to Washington expecting to be an ace, right? I think he has ace potential, but on a 20, I don't even know how old he is. He's like 25, 26 probably at this point. Um, you know, the way that I view it is like
27
he's okay.
or
Yeah, he's
26, going to be
27.
27 next month.
So when he first got traded in that big deal for Juan Soto, right, that we all remember, um, he was basically the top prospect. And listen, like I still think he's a formidable starter in this league. I do think he's a really good number three, maybe a number four. But his expectations in Washington was ace,
Yep.
right? And now he's going somewhere where he's going into a top rotation in baseball. Like I don't want to like look over the fact that I think the Rangers really do have a top rotation. Um, Nathan Eovaldi, Jacob DeGrom, and you have the rest of that supporting cast there too. And you slot Mackenzie Gore in there, that is a good rotation. And the pressure's off, man. Not to be that ace. Obviously, they're competing for a championship, things like that. But I think he's able to go into a place where he can just kind of learn from. I mean, Jacob DeGrom, you're pitching behind one of the game's greatest pitchers of all time. Um, that's such an underrated component of this trade, I think. So I think overall it's honestly a low risk, high reward for Texas. I really like this move. I do. I wanted the Yankees to trade for Mackenzie Gore. I mentioned it just a little bit ago when we were talking about Bellinger. I wanted Mackenzie Gore. I think he has the tools. I think he has the mechanics, the velocity, the whole 9 yards to be a really good pitcher. But he wasn't in the right setting. I don't think Washington was the place for him. So he's going to be a guy that I'm watching a lot this year in Texas. I want to see how this trade does pan out. I do think Texas is a much better place for him. And kind of on the Washington side, yeah, you're getting five prospects back that might be able to pan out in your favor. You never know. Truly, you really don't. But I want to know what else is going on in Washington. You mentioned it. The reports came out that CJ Abrams was on the trade block, evidently. Um, and Abrams is their star in DC. He's their guy. So if you were willing to trade him, and maybe the asking price wasn't there, but the fact is you had conversations about getting rid of him. I want to know why, right? Why are you thinking you got to blow this thing up again? You don't have the pieces to do a full rebuild again, in my opinion. It's not like last time where you had Juan Soto, right? A guy who you can get a haul for. And that's what the Nationals did. But I don't think Abrams is on that level to be able to get a big haul for. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to watch how this pans out for DC, and honestly, not just this year, but the next couple of years, because I don't think now they're really on that winning track as much as I thought maybe last year or the year before. Um, so yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where this team goes because I feel like they're in limbo. That's what the CJ Abrams trade tells me. Do they want to do a full rebuild again, or do they want to try to build around the core that they have? Um, Unfortunately, I think they are in that middle spot. They don't have a core, and I don't think they're bad enough to do a full rebuild. So it is going to be interesting, and sometimes that sucks more than actually like knowing which
That's
direction to go.
purgatory.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's never where you want to be in, and they fired the manager and they fired the GM last year too. So
There's a lot
they're
of question marks.
right.
There really is. So it's going to be interesting to see the next couple of years for the Washington Nationals. I'm not sure how that's going to go, but we'll see.
And the rotation for the Rangers, I have it right here in front of me. Jagrom, Evaldi, Gore, Leiter, and Latz. It's not bad. That's
And you
not
also
bad.
have Kumar Rocker
Yep.
in there too. That's a good rotation, man. That is a solid rotation.
Damn it. I picked the Rangers to get to the World Series last year. Don't let me do that again. I'm not. I don't think I am, but I
Yeah,
think
I
the
mean,
Rangers. I mean, if everything falls into place, I think the Rangers are a playoff team this year
oh, absolutely. I think so.
in that division. But we'll see. We still got
Yep.
we still got a while before everything shapes up. All right, we'll do we'll do the JRAM extension. We'll do the JRAM extension. How about it? Jose Ramirez signed an extension with the Cleveland Guardians. I believe it was 7 years. Right. I think, 7 years,
Yes.
$175 million extension, essentially making him a Guardian for life. I love it. And it just goes to show you that, hey, These small market teams can't spend. Some of them just choose not to. Uh, Locking down one of your core guys that have been there forever, I love it. And again, there's no signs of him slowing down. He's been good. And again, he was one of those. It's crazy how, outside of like, I'm just talking all of Cleveland landscape, Cleveland sports. Outside of LeBron James, Jose Ramirez is gonna be like that staple Cleveland athlete because he's been there his whole career, which is crazy to me. He's on the
Yeah.
doorstep of LeBron James in terms of like impact he's had on the city and impact he's had on the sports. But congratulations to J-Ram getting a well-deserved extension, keeping him in Cleveland. I heard a lot of Dodgers fans. It's all right. We'll just trade for him in 2 years, so it's okay. But, for baseball, I love this move. I really do. I like it when the small market teams get to lock down their core guys. You saw that with Bobby Witt Jr. a couple years ago. You've seen it now with J-Ram. I like it when these guys lock down their key franchise players and they don't let them walk out the door. So happy for J-Ram, and he's going to be under contract until 2032, essentially making him a Guardian for life. So good for him.
Absolutely. Jose Ramirez, the gift that keeps on giving. That's pretty much how you sum that up. This guy is a phenomenal player. He's a future Hall of Famer in my eyes. He's basically at that, at that war mark where the writers like to look. 57.6 career war, all with Cleveland, obviously. This is phenomenal. There's no other way to put it. In his last 9 years in the majors, he has finished top 10 in MVP voting, minus 2019. He had a bit of a down year in 2019, but other than that, he's finished top 10 in MVP voting. If it wasn't for Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge battling out in the American League a few years ago, I can guarantee you he would already have one. He is a phenomenal player. I mean, I can't say it enough. In his 13-year career with Cleveland, he has batted. Yeah, sorry. Yep, there we go. He has slashed 279, 353, 504, 857 OPS. This guy is almost a penciled in 30 homers, 25 homers or more a year. He's a five-tool player, steals a shit ton of bases. Yeah, I mean, there's not much more I can say. Absolutely beautiful. I love when these guys stay in their market, and that's what J Ram's doing. And yeah, you mentioned it. He is a Cleveland legend, and by the end of his career, he's going to be up there, man. This contract takes him through 7 years, so if he finishes his contract, he will have spent 20 years in Cleveland and showing no signs of slowing down. Beautiful, all around beautiful. I loved when this dropped, and we posted it. This is one of those feel good things for me in the game of baseball. I love when there's loyalty to a team, but I also love when there's loyalty both ways. That's not just
Right.
loyalty one way is it's stupid. It doesn't make sense. So you want that loyalty both ways, and it seems like J Ram and the Cleveland Guardians have that together. So I love that, and yeah, J Ram will continue to terrorize my Yankees in the American League, and and I kind of like it, to be honest with you.
LeBron James, Jose Ramirez, Jim Brown, and Johnny Manziel. Holy shit, that's your Mount Rushmore. Let's throw Deshaun Watson in there too. Why not? But
Oh yeah,
there's your Mount
absolutely.
Rushmore of Cleveland, Ohio athletes. And
Shador Sanders, Pro
Shador
Bowl.
Sanders, there we
He's up
go,
there.
right there, Pro Bowl, exactly, absolutely. Um, yeah, so happy for J Ram, and it's got to be good for Cleveland, man. It's got to be good for
Oh,
Cleveland. It's like, man, I'm sure a lot of fans have his jersey already, but at least you don't have to worry. Like, all right, he's not going anywhere. He's staying here for the foreseeable future.
absolutely.
Last signing here that just broke right before we started recording. Harrison Bader to the Giants. 2-year deal. I'm glad he's going to a place where he's going to play because listen, I wanted him on the Dodgers, and if it wasn't going to work out with Kyle Tucker, he was going to go to the Mets or the Blue Jays. I wanted the Dodgers to at least look and consider Harrison Bader. He had a very good second half with the Phillies, slotted in very well in center field. I know he got hurt at the end in that series against the Dodgers, but he's a plug and spark type of player, man. You saw that with the Yankees a couple postseasons ago. You saw that with the Phillies last year. They brought him in. He just brought new energy to that clubhouse. That not that the Phillies needed because they were already good, but he just added to it. And now he's going to San Francisco where he's going to play every day. And damn it, he's going to be in my division now, so I'm not looking forward to that. But I like it. Harrison Bader to the Giants. Finally, the Giants continuing to make moves, and I could see Bader being a Dodger killer, man, especially in a Giants uniform. That's gonna be a pain in the ass to look at now for the next 2 years. But fine, we were kind of waiting. We're like now that all the big boys are signed, Tucker, Schwarber, Bichette. Now we're looking for these other kind of little signings to happen that can have a huge impact on teams like the Giants and other teams like that. But Harrison Bader was kind of one of those guys that was getting lost a little bit in the outfield shuffle with Bellinger and Tucker, guys like that. But happy to see that Bader found a new home, and now we're just waiting on these other smaller pieces too. We're still waiting for guys like Framber Valdez to find a new team, guys like that. So maybe this will get the domino rolling, but good for Harrison Bader.
Absolutely. I can't say enough about Harrison Bader. He's played a total of 9 years, and I think a big thing for him is in the last couple of years he really hasn't had stability, right? He's been riddled with the injury bug a few times. Overall, though, I think what the Giants were missing is what Harrison Bader provides. He provides a extremely solid bat, Gold Glove level defense every single year. He is just one of these guys that, he reminds me a lot of a Josh Naylor. He plays with a lot of heart. He plays with a lot of intensity. And for a Giants team who's been missing that over the last couple of years, I think that almost is more than what he can give on the field. Because you know what you're going to get out of him on the field. It's the extra stuff that he provides that is so important to a clubhouse. And just looking at his numbers, so last year he was obviously dealt to Philly. He played 96 games with Minnesota and 50 games with Philly. In Philly, he had a hell of a stint. 50 games, he slashed 305, 361, 463 with an 824 OPS. And he also had 5 homers in there. Yeah, I mean, this guy's solid, man. He's solid across the board. And I think with a little bit of stability, because obviously this is a multi-year deal. It's a 2-year, $20 million deal. Yeah, he's getting paid basically 10 million a year. I think he provides so much to this Giants team. I truly do think he does. This is a good signing. The fit is there. And yeah, if you can knock off a few games from the Dodgers schedule, I mean,
Oh, what
why
the
not?
fuck was that all the way?
Listen,
Yeah.
man, I'm
So
trying to
when
get into that
so
rivalry
so
here.
when the
Okay.
Dodgers win 105 games instead of 110, yeah, big deal. Whoop de doo.
Damn right.
Whoop de doo.
Listen, that game can keep them from breaking the all-time record.
I
So,
guess. So when the
and
Giants,
Harrison Bader is going to be part of that.
all right, and so for what? When the Giants get their, what the Giants their mediocrity 82 and 80 season this year again. I can't wait to see it. Can't wait. Maybe they'll win 83 games this year.
Listen, man, I'm trying to get this rivalry back, right? So,
Hey, the
you know,
Dodgers
if
have been doing their part. It's the Giants that haven't done anything.
that's what I'm saying, man. So listen, if I can try to find a little bit of that and a guy who can play into a rivalry,
That's
it's
true.
definitely Harrison Bader, man.
That's true.
That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at a guy who can put on that Giants uniform and play with that intensity and say, you know what? Yeah, it's the Dodgers. That's all it is. It's another game on the schedule. And I can guarantee you Harrison Bader is going to be a player like that. So like I said, I truly do think that goes a long way for a clubhouse and for a Giants team who's had basically no success ever since their dynasty.
Say that again.
Hey,
Say
you
that
heard me.
again.
I said it once. For a team that's basically had no success since their dynasty, you got to latch on to getting back to where you want. And Harrison Bader is a player who can do that. So overall, I think it's a good deal. And congrats to Bader. He finally gets some stability after that carousel of teams after his Yankees tenure. So good for him. It was in Cincinnati, it was in Minnesota, Philly. He was never able to create like a home. He was never, and the Mets were in there. He was never able to just settle down and really play for a team. And now that he has a multi-year contract, I'm glad he can do that. So, props to both sides. It's a good deal.
He's also never been west of the Mississippi, so welcome to the West Coast, Harrison Bader. He was in
Very
he
true.
was in the Midwest and in the East Coast. Yankees, Mets, Phillies, and then the Midwest. You had the Cardinals, the Twins, the Reds. He was running out of teams, man. He was running out of teams out there in the Northeast to the Midwest of America. So welcome out west, Harrison Bader. I'll give you that. And yeah, I'll give you the real version of what Kyle said. For a Giants franchise that hasn't done shit since 2014, and their fan base flexes their 3 World Series championships like it still means something now. I want Giants fans to go back and look at those 3 World Series trophies. They got cobwebs and spiders all over them now. It's all dusty. Like it's
God,
it's it's just collecting dust now.
what do
Meanwhile,
you
the
think of my
meanwhile
Yankees then?
meanwhile the
What the?
Dodgers, it's all nicely polished and it's clean. It's
Oh my
gorgeous to
God.
look at, nice and shiny. Meanwhile, the Giants three have already collected dust, and you know, I think the flags are starting to fall off too, starting to stribble off of there. So,
Crazy. I definitely hit a nerve with that one.
yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Well, because the Giants are mediocre. They're the definition of mediocrity, of mid. You know, when the Giants
Oh man.
finish, like I said, when the Giants finish 82-80 this year, oh well, we finished over 500, and we beat the Dodgers in one series during the regular season. All right, that's good enough for us. We'll see you next year. Yeah, really got me going today, Kyle. I appreciate it. I needed that.
Absolutely.
I needed
Absolutely, man. That's what I'm here for, man.
that.
That's what I'm here for.
um, Before we get out of here, and this was not on the schedule, but I do want to mention it. MLB The
Hmm.
Show came out with some news today. That baseball video game that nobody likes to play after November 1st. Um, they announced today that there will not be a new cover athlete in their 2026 edition of the game. So, for those of you that are wishing for Cal Raleigh or for wishing for any other of these players, that's not happening this year. But
Yep.
that does open Pandora's box because then people were going through all 20 of the covers. Because I think this year the MLB The Show celebrating 25 years, I think, of the game, something like that. So there's like they reached like some or maybe 20 years of the show, something. They're reaching some kind of landmark this year, and the color of the logo in 26 is orange. I got a lot of people thinking of what it could be. Could it be Miguel Cabrera making a comeback into the game? I know a lot of people before this came out. A lot of people were saying it should be Screwball, which honestly I would have been down for that if they would have just done it like that. But you got a lot of salty fans like, oh, it's just gonna be Shohei. Just stop wasting my time and just give it to me. But Kyle, you said you had an idea of what you think it's gonna be, and I'm very interested to see what it is.
Yeah, so obviously like I haven't really gone through like the news just dropped. So I haven't really
Yeah, you
had a
have a
lot of time,
life.
but
You have a life
a
and a
lot of
mortgage to take care of.
I do, which is kind of overrated if I'm being honest. Um, but I will say I think with everything that kind of came out about it, my mind went to an anniversary edition, right? So the possibility of seeing what we saw a few years ago with multiple guys on the cover, but like you said, maybe a Miggy, maybe just basically an anniversary edition, right? I haven't had time, like I said, to really think about like what would be on it, like what like I haven't, because like I mean, you think about it, we're celebrating what, like maybe 20, 25
I think
years of
it's
MLB The
20
Show.
years. I think
So okay,
because I
20
think
years. So
2006 was the first time because I think they had before that a couple years. I think San Diego studios had the game, but then I think in
yeah,
2006 was like the show, MLB The Show. I think that's when it started.
yeah, so that's what I'm thinking, right? Like, so maybe within the last 20 years, what has happened that maybe we do an anniversary edition for, right? So I remember, when I was a kid, I used to play a lot of Madden. So I remember Madden 25 came out
Yeah.
with Barry Sanders on the cover, something along those lines that's going on. But, when I'm thinking about the orange, maybe we're gonna celebrate that dynasty that the San Francisco
What
Giants
the
had,
fuck?
right? Maybe we're gonna bring those cobweb filled commissioners trophies back out for a little bit.
It'll be coughing all over the damn place.
I don't know, man, but I definitely went to like an anniversary edition, right? So I don't know, maybe like an Ichiro or a fucking Miggy Cabrera, who knows? Orange, San Francisco,
I know
Barry Bonds. You never know.
that's not happening, man. Uh,
Maybe this is the year we get Barry Bonds in the game. Who
we've been
knows?
saying that for 10 years, man. That's not happening. Anytime there's some kind of orange, it could be a little speck of orange in the MLB show, in the MLB The Show trailer. Oh, look, Barry Bonds, bring him
Yeah.
back. It's like, all right, buddy, relax. Can I say probably an unpopular
No.
take here?
Yeah,
I hope it's not Ken Griffey Jr.
that makes sense. I get that.
Am I wrong to say that Ken Griffey Jr. is getting a little stale?
I don't think so. I think there's definitely different ways to honor him in the game. Maybe giving him like new cards in Diamond Dynasty. Maybe giving him, I don't know, just something in game. Maybe not cover athlete though. But no, I'm kind of with you on that. It's kind of like the same song and dance over again, and like I feel like they're pushing it too much. So no, I definitely agree with you on that one.
Yeah, I wonder what the athlete's gonna be because also I mean
Is it?
it could be a thing where they were messing. San Diego Studios was playing with us last year because Ellie De La Cruz. Everybody thought he leaked the video, like, oh, okay, he's the cover, and then Paul Skeens posted his, and then Gunnar Henderson posted his. So maybe it's just one big cover of all uh, 20 athletes. Maybe it's just one big cover like that. I don't know.
It might be. You know.
Bring Yasiel Puig back before he gets taken away in handcuffs. Bring him back on the cover, because before gets in some, because he's in some legal trouble right now. But bring Puig back.
Yeah. We'll see, man. I don't know. Maybe Clayton Kershaw. I don't know.
Oh,
Maybe
that's
get
see
Kershaw.
now we're talking. See now you're getting back to making sense because before you weren't. The last 10 minutes
Listen,
you weren't making sense.
maybe we do an edition where it's a scary edition, right? Where it's like Clayton Kershaw with the orange Giants
What
jersey
the
on,
fuck are
that
we
type of
doing?
thing.
You like we're fucking around today? You like fucking around today? All right.
Absolutely. Listen, I have to say the orange. The orange is in there. That's what we know. That's what we have to go off of. So if Clayton Kershaw is in there, you never know, man. You never know. I don't
Well,
know. How about the
yeah.
Mets? Is it like Jacob DeGrom or something? I don't know.
David
Maybe
Wright.
David Wright. Yeah, that's another thing.
Oh, I won't
You never
buy it.
know.
No, I'm just kidding. You really want to piss me off? Make it a Carlos Beltran. Uh,
Oh, there we go.
yeah, that'll piss me off.
What
Yeah.
a joke. What a joke, man.
We didn't even touch on that too, just because it was so long ago a week. But the Hall of Fame made their big
Yeah.
announcement. Andrew Jones, yay, and I guess Carlos Beltran, yeah.
Listen,
I
we
learned
will
last week that certain cheating is okay. You know,
that yeah.
you can sign steal all you want, But if you even think about taking performance enhancing drugs, we will eliminate you off the face of the planet.
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. And I'm going to say this, we obviously don't have to spend too much time on it, but I am going to make it now a topic of this show because I think I have something to say about it. So I want to make sure there's a timestamp, things like that. The fact that Carlos Beltran got inducted into the Hall of Fame, my thoughts on steroid users and things like that has gone out the window. I think Barry Bonds deserves a place in Cooperstown now. And I was very against that for the longest time. I really was. And Melo, you can back me up on that. I said it time and time again, and I never wavered. I was always one who said, if you mess with the integrity of the game, you don't belong in a place where they will honor you forever. It's eternal glory is what the Hall of Fame is. There's guys in there that you never saw play, and I can guarantee you'd forget their name if you don't take a trip up to Cooperstown. So these guys are remembered
Yeah,
forever.
like Babe Ruth.
It, pretty much. um, but the fact that Carlos Beltran, and this might hit a nerve for me, and I know it hits a nerve for you as well, because that 2017 year, man, I thought it was the Yankees and Dodgers. Aaron Judge should have won MVP. We missed out on a World Series that we should have had. And in my opinion, how in the absolute hell can Carlos Beltran be inducted into the Hall of Fame? It makes zero sense. And now I question the integrity of the Hall of Fame because now Carlos Beltran's in there. Okay. So now I view this saying, okay, Pete Rose, Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, the whole 9 yards, and the rest of those steroid era, induct them. That's the way I view it because there's no world where Carlos Beltran can have a place in Cooperstown, but Barry Bonds can't. So I have now flipped my opinion on the Hall of Fame and the voting, and I think Barry Bonds, Alex Rodriguez should be in the Hall of Fame. And if I'm being honest with you, I questioned this a few years ago when David Ortiz got in. And I understand, he wasn't as big as, the Barry Bonds and things, but it was proven. And the fact that David Ortiz got in already made me question this. And now Carlos Beltran being inducted, yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that A-Rod should be in, Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa. I think Pete Rose should be in, the whole 9 yards. All those guys should be in the Hall of Fame because you can't have the Hall of Fame without its best hitter of all time in Barry Bonds. And now that Carlos Beltran's in, I firmly believe that. So my opinion on that has switched, and I do think he belongs in the Hall of Fame now.
Yeah. Only certain amount of cheating is okay.
Yep.
You can sign steal all you want. You can bet all you want on these games. But the minute you start injecting yourself with PEDs, you're done. It just makes no sense. Yeah, one real quick thing, and then we'll get out of here just touching upon this. I don't know if you saw, and again, it's going to kind of even itself out because we have some big names coming into the Hall of Fame in the next couple years.
Mm-hmm.
Chase Utley in year 3 is at 59%.
I did see that.
The magic number to get into the Hall of Fame is 75%.
Yep.
If he keeps projecting the way that I think he's going to, he's getting in. He's going to get in.
Absolutely.
Which is crazy to think because I mean, listen, I always thought Chase Utley was the Hall of very, very good. Like just below the border of Hall of Fame. But maybe the voters think differently because he's at 48. He's at 59%, almost 60%. He's like basically 3/4 of the way there already. And Alex Rodriguez, he's on his 5th year of the ballot. He's at 40%. A couple years ago, he was barely scratching the 20s. Maybe there's hope for him in these last 5 years. And you've kind of seen, especially with guys like Billy Wagner and Larry Walker and Todd Helton, guys like that, it seems like these voters start to almost forgive you a little bit towards the end. Like, okay, you've waited long enough. Let's start voting for him. So maybe that'll happen with Alex Rodriguez in the next couple years because, like I said, he has 5 years left remaining on the ballot, and he's at 40%. It's not impossible. It really is not impossible. And I think the thing that helps Alex Rodriguez a lot, he's a good ambassador for the game. You
Yeah.
see him on Fox Sports doing the pre and post game for baseball. He was doing the ESPN Sunday Night Baseball for the longest time. He always puts out these videos on Instagram of him like teaching the game of how to hit and stuff like that. I think Alex Rodriguez knows he messed up and he's trying to fix his image.
Yep.
So I think Alex Rodriguez doing all this will eventually help himself in the last 5 years of his time remaining on the ballot. So we'll see. But I think Chase
Yeah.
Utley's going to be a Hall of Famer soon.
Yeah. No, I think so too. I did notice that, and in my opinion, it is what it is. I love the Hall of Fame. I do. We've been going up the last few years, and I can't say enough about Cooperstown and what a good job the Hall of Fame staff do up there. But the integrity of this voting, man, it's really making me question a lot because I'm going to go back to the steroid thing real quick, and then we can hop on out of here. But the way I view this is Barry Bonds, Mark McGuire, the whole 9 yards who took PEDs, they still had to hit the ball,
Right.
right? And like the advantage there, like you can just basically, instead of hitting it 300 feet, you can now hit it 600 feet. And I know it's an exaggeration, but you get what I mean. Um, when you look at what the 2017 sign stealing scandal happened, right? 1 through 9 knew what pitch was coming. Imagine if Barry Bonds knew what pitch was coming. I mean, come on. And that's for a full 162. At least for the games that were played at Minute Maid. I mean, come on. You can't tell me that Barry Bonds was worse to the sport of baseball than what Carlos Beltran and company were. I'm sorry. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Carlos Beltran, the player, 100% deserves to be in. I agree. Life after baseball? No, definitely not. And I think that's a big thing. That is a huge thing that has to go with him. So, in my opinion, if Beltran's in, the rest of them need to be in. That's the way I view it, and that's my final thoughts. Um, it's a funny thing, man. It really is. This Hall of Fame voting doesn't seem as special to me anymore. It really doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't. But it will start to feel special because guys like Albert Pujols, Miguel Cabrera, yeah, Buster Posey, I'll throw him in there too. They're all coming on the ballot. And of course, the biggest player, arguably, to hit the ballot in the last 25 years will be on the ballot very soon. Clayton Kershaw, damn it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, looking forward to that. But thank you so much for listening. This was episode 164. I know we kind of went a little longer here, but hey, we have a lot to say, which is good because usually,
Absolutely.
especially at this time of year, we're kind of scratching and clawing for things. But thank you for listening. Next week will be February 1st, or no, it will be February 2nd, and we will be just 3 weeks away from spring training games getting underway. We're
It's
getting there.
beautiful. It's a
We're getting
beautiful
there.
thing, man.
We're getting there. All right. We'll see you next week. Adios.